like to call to order the New Palestine special meeting of March 26, 2020. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the sake of taking care of business tonight and also getting through the meeting timely and efficiently with the COVID-19 pandemic going on in our nation right now, I am not going to add any new agenda items or new business to the agenda. We have our next normally scheduled council meeting as scheduled for next Saturday, April 4th. And we will be deciding between now and then if we will be holding the meeting in person or taking the measures provided by the state of Indiana to conduct such meeting electronically. Under old business, I have the SRF disbursement request number 34, 35, and 36. This is something that Nyla Staples had provided in each member's mailbox, as well as emailed the information to us. And there are invoices 34, 35, and 36.
I move that we approve claims number 34, 35, and 36 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Under new business, first item is the wastewater testing agreement with the Hope Center.
Right, I have prepared that, proposed one and sent it to everyone. I don't know if anyone's, to my knowledge, it hasn't been sent to the Hope Center, but first it is a question of, do you want to continue providing this service? And if so, at what cost? Those are really the two blanks that I have, but if you have other questions about different terms or conditions, I'm happy to answer those and make any changes you want before you send it to Hope Center.
So this proposal to convene wastewater testing for the Hope Center was brought to my attention by Jim Robinson. Angie Farnow had also contacted me about the Hope Center being in a situation where they are needing this testing done. This testing was previously being done without our knowledge, as we discussed the last meeting. And so the question is, does the town of New Palestine wastewater plant, do we approve for them to provide this testing for the Hope Center with the funds coming to the town of New Palestine? And if so, what would the monthly sum be to provide these services?
And just clarification, there'll be a contract entered into between the Hope House and the town.
The Hope Center, not the
The
Hope House.
The Hope Center,
Right.
thank you.
Yes.
And then the Hope Center will make its payments payable to the town of New Palestine. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Can I ask Jim a question on this item?
absolutely.
Jim, does our testing facility have the capacity to do this testing?
Yes, yes.
Could you explain a little bit?
And I think I explained a little bit. If we're doing the town of New Palestine and that lab testing might run 3 to 4 hours, we can lay 4 labs out and it's still going to take the same amount of time. So material, you might be looking at maybe $100, $150 at year end. So cost of the town's very, very minimal. So,
But most importantly, we have the capacity to do so.
yes.
I guess then, we probably need to decide 2 things. Do we want to do this? And then second, if we do, at what rate? Is that correct? So
Yes, those are two questions.
Greg, would it be better to separate that into motions?
Well, you could do it well, yes, that's fine. You can do I was gonna say, you could do it that you would approve the contract. The motion could be to approve the contract at X amount of dollars per month. And by making that motion, you're approving, providing the service and approving the dollar amount. If you want two separate discussions, then certainly you can have first a motion to discuss whether you want to enter into a contract and provide that service, and then a second motion as to the dollar amount, whichever you prefer.
For purposes of discussion, I think it helps if we have a motion, and if it's second and then it's open to discussion. I will move that we enter into a contract with the Hope Center in an amount to be determined at a second motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
4-1, was it?
Yes, 4-1.
Thank you.
Okay. So point of discussion then on majority favors entering into a contract with the Hope Center for the wastewater testing. Then the second discussion is, what is the amount?
It's my understanding that they were previously paying directly to Dave Book $900 a month. There was some discussion, it's been, brought to my attention that perhaps we do this at no cost. I personally don't think that that's a prudent use of taxpayer facilities and time. It is a noteworthy, a noble charitable cause. But again, I don't think we should do it for nothing. I'm gonna make a motion just to stab and see if this is approved. I would move that the rate to be charged to the Hope Center be $450 per month, which is 50% of what they were previously paying.
Is there any discussion?
First, you better see if there's a second. And if my motion falls or fails for a lack of a second, then so be it.
Okay, is there a second for $450 a month? Okay, motion fails for lack of second. So further discussion on the amount by other council members.
My free was shot down, so.
Okay,
Can I add to that, Brandy?
yes, Jim.
Okay. At the situation that the Hope House is in, working with IDEMS,
Hope Center,
the Hope Center.
Yeah.
yes. There's a little dire straits there. There is a very big need for this. I think they're willing to pay. There's no, obligation for it. But I think at this time, they would be happy to pay the $900 a month. I think we could set up a fund here in town that money could go into, and that could be another, or we can actually donate money when people come to the town for charities. So I think it's a win-win.
Now you have to keep the account separate.
I-
The utility
exactly.
funds have to be separate from the general fund. So now the utility could have a donation fund, I suppose. But again, when it comes time to look at rates and do a rate study, I mean, that would be an element in looking at the rate study in terms of what the utility does with the funds it receives. So my other understanding, and Jim, you can confirm this, is that in addition to the water testing services, David was providing, he was basically the licensed operator for the plant and maintaining the plant to some extent. So
Yes.
are you able to give us some sense of the percentage of time and effort devoted to each of those functions? And maybe we can prorate it in some respect like that.
No, as far as license bill, I think Bob Curtis, who works for the Hope Center, he's actually in the process of getting his 180-day license to start running, to be a considered operator. And that way the town doesn't have that obligation of being the sole operator. And as well, he's going to take the classes and get his license, so.
But no idea as to what percentage of time might be attributed to testing versus other aspects of what David's company was doing?
I think the understanding is they will actually deliver the labs.
That's true. That's what I built into the contract.
Yes.
Well, was there a separate charge for that besides the,
We don't know.
no, I don't know,
We
for
don't.
sure.
We don't know.
I was just trying to get a sense of
Yeah.
the proportion of the work to the price, so. That's up to you guys.
We're gonna be, you're gonna be the licensed operator. If we do this, you will be the licensed operator until such time that they can take over themselves. So we're assuming that liability. I think we need to leave things just the way they are, charge him the same amount and maybe revisit it once he has his operator's license, if he gets his operator's license. And see if that lowers our liability.
That's a very good incentive
Yeah.
for them to get their license.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a motion, Jan?
Well, I guess that is a motion. I move we
Okay, can I,
keep the rate the
I'm
same.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
And that's okay if you want, I'll have to change the contract, because right now the contract is strictly for water testing. I wasn't under the impression that we were going, and it's okay, I can make the change. I just wasn't under the impression we were gonna be providing a certified operator and maintenance and so forth for, as had been done in the past. But I can make that change, and so if that's what you want to do, then just include in your motion that it includes the wastewater operator, and I'll make the adjustment.
That's part of the challenge. I have no idea, again, what was done or not done down there for them, with them. All I knew was we were testing the labs. So that's another element that I didn't know was happening
Well,
in the meantime. So,
It will require a certified operator to submit the reports to IM.
And you are that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
so that's on us.
Will you be doing maintenance on their equipment? No, they'll be responsible for all maintenance.
okay,
Well, then
So
that's
then it is
okay.
just the
If
testing.
it's just water testing, I
Okay.
think I can get by with what we have.
okay.
So I'm
that's
sorry,
your
Jan,
motion, Jan?
I
Let's
interrupted you.
let's
I'm
start
sorry.
over.
Start over again.
Yes.
I say we just leave it at the 900 and revisit it when they get their operator's license.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay.
So contract for $900 a month.
Got
It will be revisited upon their possibly situation changing. Is that fair enough language?
That's
Okay.
fair. That's
All
good
right.
research.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, waiving fees and liens for wastewater customers for 30 days.
Yes. I received an email that indicated you may want to consider this. As you know, the governor's issued an order that delinquent accounts are not to be disconnected, but that order didn't indicate anything about late fees or interest on any delinquent bills. And so I have prepared a resolution for your consideration if you wish to waive those fees and penalties. So this is Resolution 032620, a resolution regarding temporary cessation of late fees and penalties for the New Palestine Municipal Water Utility. Whereas on March 6, 2020, the Governor of Indiana declared a public health emergency due to the 2019 outbreak of the coronavirus, commonly referred to as COVID-19. And whereas the Governor of Indiana has also issued an executive order prohibiting the disconnection of utility services for non-payment for the duration of the declared health emergency. And whereas the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana, acting as the Board of Directors of the New Palestine Municipal Sewer Utility, believe that it is consistent with the executive orders of the Governor of Indiana that additionally all late fees and penalties for non-payment of municipal sewer bills should be suspended for the duration of the declared emergency. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana, acting as the Board of Directors of the New Palestine Municipal Sewer Utility as follows. Section 1, the imposition of late fees and penalties for non-payment of municipal sewer billing shall be suspended during the COVID-19 emergency health declaration. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage in accordance with the law.
So Nyla asked for this to be considered. She said that I believe that there was already a phone call or two just asking about the situation. I know that this week she filed the liens for this past month. But before moving forward and deciding whether to charge late fees, file liens moving forward, from this month, wanted us to at least discuss or consider the issue. So obviously you can't turn off the sewer services, so that's not the issue. The issue is, will we waive penalties, late fees, and not file liens during the state of emergency? And as we know, there are many different opinions on what is the end date, okay, of the public health
That's why I
emergency.
put it into the
Yes.
declaration, because I have no idea how
Yes.
long it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
last.
don't, nobody does.
I mean, you can amend it to a date certain if you wish.
Right. Or we say until further notice as this is written technically,
Well, this doesn't say anything about liens in it.
right?
I would not stop the liens.
I wouldn't
Okay.
either.
All right, well, this says lien,
Because
okay,
it
all
takes
right.
90, they have to basically be
Yeah, 90
behind 90
days
days
before
they
before
get
a
a
lien
lien.
gets
Okay.
placed, so I would.
Well,
not-
I think maybe the conversation was moving forward with new ones.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if anybody was to get,
Right,
so we cannot say the word lien,
and we
that's
can
fine.
file liens and not
Okay.
terminate the service. So
Right, okay,
You just.
so let's just stick to late fees and penalties.
Yeah,
That's
you're just
another
trying to protect
discussion.
the payment of the bill originally with the
Okay.
lien, so.
Well, my only thing on this is that this says everybody could not pay for a month. You want
Actually,
everybody not to pay?
everybody could not pay for longer than.
That's what I mean,
Under the
for
executive
the
order.
duration of the,
Right, the emergency.
yeah,
Because that's something I think that a lot of the utilities have done. As I recall from the governor's order. So I think Nyla just felt that since this is our utility, we need to consider what are we going to do with our utility? Since people already asked me.
In my opinion, if it came down to forcing a family to choose between buying groceries or paying their sewer bill, I would prefer in the short term that they buy groceries.
I agree. These are uncharted times, so.
And Nyla did ask me if we wanted to have some sort of document of proof, like have them complete a hardship. If we wanted to create something like that in hardship of proof that unemployed, laid off, life change, whatever it is during this time due to this virus. Did we want to have a standard form to fill out?
That's fine.
Or do we just make it in general?
I think in general,
I'm fine with, I'm just, yeah,
instead of
These
making more work.
these are the elements that she had mentioned to me, so, yeah.
so in other words, you're agreeing to let everybody not pay their sewer bill until the declared emergency is over?
Clint, let me clarify, this only deals with penalties and late fees.
Right,
The governor has already decided they don't have to pay their bill, or that you can't shut them off for
Right.
non-payment. So that's not a decision.
Well, if
that
there's
we-
no penalties or late fees, it's just like.
The bill would accrue.
It's just like if I'm late on my sewer bill and I have to pay a 10% penalty, well, I'm not paying that sewer bill until the next month. Because if I'm
I
gonna
see
pay a
what you're
10% penalty then, why would I pay it the next day?
Okay.
So if I don't have to pay any penalties, I'm not paying any sewer bill.
Why are you being
I
difficult?
think that, I don't like this. That's the truth. If there's no penalties or interest, you don't have to pay your sewer bill until the emergency's over. And then all of a sudden you pay up.
That's a very true possibility,
Somebody could take it.
with
to
or
that
without this
extreme.
resolution, quite frankly.
yeah.
Yeah.
They could take it without the resolution. Again, it's not saying they're not going to receive a sewer bill or not be expected to pay it. But I know, I get what you mean. There's no late fee or penalty for not paying it, but the bill will still accrue.
And
They're just
that's
not gonna
why,
be
and that's why you don't
Yes.
take the lien provision away.
Right.
So that you can at least, assuming they own the property, and granted, I'm sure we have a fair number of people who rent, but if they own the property, then that lien can be placed.
And also I will mention, just because I work in healthcare, I can tell you, as we're trying to coordinate services through my employer to provide for people in the community that don't have services, a lot of extra services that are out there, your ICAP, your trustees, your Children's Bureau, your Families First, a lot of them are limited on the assistance that they would normally be able to provide people in a hardship. A lot of those agencies are having to shut down or not operate or reduce their services. So their ability to help people in situations like they need help paying utilities are limited as well. So I'm just throwing that out there. For the time being.
I will make make a motion to pass resolution 032620 as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay.
So this will, as of this time, it's in place until the further discussion or the emergency is lifted by the governor.
Yes.
Greg Morlock retainer payments.
That's been taken care of.
Okay,
That was easy.
I like how fast that one moved.
Me too.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Good on that.
Moving on.
Okay, I tried. All right, salary ordinance.
Might there be a motion to read this by title only?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
So this is ordinance number 032620, an ordinance amending ordinance number 020120. This is on first reading. And by way of explanation, this is an adjustment to the salary ordinance, reducing the salary of the town manager / wastewater manager by $12,000 per year, and the funds from which those monies are paid proportionally. Indicating the salary of the interim town manager and wastewater manager is $1,000 per month, and paying those funds proportionally from the general fund, the MVH fund, and the wastewater fund. And then there is an adjustment to the salary for labor, wastewater, infrastructure advisor, and that is, the dollar amount has not changed, it's $49,000. The funding source has been altered to be 100% from MVH. And other than that, the ordinance remains the same.
any discussion by council?
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 031820 on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
I make a motion, we suspend the rules on the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
So this is ordinance number 032620 on its passage, and ordinance amending ordinance number 020120.
I make a motion, we pass ordinance number 031820.
Second.
Actually, I think the number is 082620.
032620.
Is that your group?
032620.
That's
Today's date, 032620.
I have 031820.
I
Yeah.
have
That
the
was the
same.
latest copy that I have.
You may not have those, she must not have sent you the latest copy, but I changed the date.
Okay.
I
So
don't have
do
Because
any-
we were gonna consider this last week and we decided not to.
Do we
so
do we need motions all over again?
I think we made it 0320, did we not?
26, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
I think Tony had a question on that, so you might have some
Might wanna wait.
clarification.
Yep, just I'm sorry, Angie, what?
I said, so we might want to wait because you were adding to it.
No, I just wanted some clarification on salary versus exempt, non-exempt, to make sure that we were being perfectly clear on. My understanding now is that the town manager and the marshal are the only two people who are on salary who are not allowed overtime, but everybody else who's on salary can get overtime, meaning planning commission, street commissioner, if we ever have one again, the wastewater / planning advisor. Is that correct?
And if I can, the definition of exempt versus non-exempt is an exempt employee is, from a salary standpoint, is one who spends 50% or more of their time in an administrative managerial capacity, which is why the only two people you really have in that role would be the town manager and the police chief. A street commissioner may someday, it just depends on what duties you give them and how much of his time or her time is devoted to management, but everybody else would be considered salary non-exempt. So if that answers Tony's question, then I think we can probably move forward. But I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on the distinction there. Just because you get a salary doesn't mean you can't earn overtime. It just depends on your functions.
Clear as mud.
Any questions or discussion on that? Everybody on the same page with that one?
Think so.
Bill, Angie? We good? All right. We good?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thanks for clarifying too. Thanks for clarifying the definition.
No problem.
Absolutely. All right, next item is timely deposits by clerk's office per state examiner, State Board of Accounts.
Right, and when I prepared this, I wasn't aware of the order, so this is denominated, and we can change it if you want, but we have A coming. Ordinance number 032620B, an ordinance regarding timely deposits. Whereas on March 19, 2020, Paul D. Joyce, State Examiner of the State Board of Accounts, issued State Examiner Directive 2020-1. And whereas within said directive was a provision that the State Board of Accounts will not take audit exception if the governing body approves the frequency for deposit of public funds to be limited to 2 times per week, if the governing body requires said deposits to be made on Tuesday and Thursday, and requires the public funds to be secured on those days when a deposit is not made. And whereas the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana feels that the implementation of the provision of said directive are in the best interest of the prudent financial management of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana during the current declared statewide health emergency. Therefore, be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana, that Section 1, pursuant to State Examiner Directive 2020-1, issued March 19, 2020 by Paul D. Joyce, State Examiner, the Town Council of the Town of New Palestine, Indiana hereby authorizes the Clerk Treasurer for the duration of the Indiana statewide health emergency to make deposits as the Clerk Treasurer deems appropriate, however, no less than 2 times per week on Tuesday and Thursday, with the further provision that the public funds within the possession of the Clerk Treasurer be secured on those days when a deposit is not made. Section 2, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage to publication, and posting is required by law within the Town of New Palestine, Indiana. Any questions?
Questions, Clint?
Who asked for this?
I don't know that anyone asked for this. I prepared it because of the state examiners, and
Okay.
it's just, it's kind of a fallback, and you're going to have another, the next one actually is about
Yeah.
the payment of claims. That too is a fallback in case, God forbid, that, the government just says everything's shut down, no meetings, no teleconferences, no nothing. You need to have some provisions that can comply. And again, because it was issued and they will not take an audit exception, because they do check that when they audit to make sure you're putting the money in within 24 hours of its receipt. Then that's why I felt that it was a prudent backstop measure, if you will.
Well, how'd they pick out Tuesday and Thursday?
You'd have to ask Mr. Joyce that question. I'm not sure. I guess because they're kind of early in the beginning of the week and towards the end. I don't know.
Just pick 2 days, not consecutive.
And nothing prevents the clerk from making deposits more frequently.
Right.
That's just the minimum.
And honestly, Clint, we would continue to make them as often as we could. But if we had to fall back, that would probably be our fallback, but we really don't like to have cash on hand.
Me either.
Nor does my wife. She doesn't believe
What
it.
ordinance number was this, Greg?
Okay, it's 032620, B as in boy. Be careful, read my screen.
Any further discussion?
No.
Is there a motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 032620B?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Suspend the rules.
Okay.
I make a motion, we suspend the rules on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. I look at you because you like to do the suspension motions.
It's got it down.
That's why I looked at
It's our
you.
suspended motion.
You're normally on the trigger. Okay.
So this is ordinance number 032620B on its passage, an ordinance regarding timely deposits.
Motion to approve on second reading.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, next item, ordinance authorizing accounts payable payments in advance of formal allowance. I think we need an updated ordinance number on this one too.
032620A.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Would you like for me to read that, or would you like it by title only? I'll be happy to do whatever you wish.
I'm fine with title only, it's rather long.
It's lengthy.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
All right, so this is ordinance number 032620A, an ordinance authorizing accounts payable payments in advance of formal allowance.
Well, as long as we continue to have meetings, I don't understand what this ordinance does.
It too is a backup, Clint.
So just in case.
If for some reason it was so, the latest governor's movement was that we can have public meetings via electronic means. We could have a conference call, okay? But it could change tomorrow, and so if all public meetings were canceled, this covers it, because we don't know day to day what might happen. So it's just a proactive measure that Greg recommended per state.
And looking through this particular ordinance and the wording of this ordinance, I have some questions regarding items 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, and maybe 22. So we look at the first one, 13. We're in the time of a crisis, and this ordinance is allowing essentially the prepayment of payments in support of recreation or special event programs. And I think in the time of crisis, we don't want to pre-authorize that kind of a payment. I have the same concern with item 14 because I'm not aware of a traffic violation agency fund. Unless there is such a fund.
I think that was one that was going to be discussed and it was tabled. Was that the?
Well, if we had a traffic court and you were receiving,
I don't think
Pull
that was,
over.
We have
no,
an
that
ordinance
wasn't
violation
Operation
bureau and
Pullover.
We have an
Okay.
ordinance violation bureau and a fund associated with any of those, so it could be an ordinance violation for like a local stop sign or something of that nature. But
so would that be the traffic violation agency fund?
yes,
Okay, then I'll withdraw.
which one was that, Bill?
That's 14 on
14,
the first
okay.
page.
Thank you.
And then when you turn to the second page, number 15 talks about payments for which there could be a penalty or a late charge. Again, we're in a time of crisis, and I think we've had by both state and federal declarations a pretty broadly implemented waiver of penalties and interest. So I don't want to just say, oh, there, to get into a future argument, well, there could have been a penalty, so I went ahead and paid it. I'd rather deal with the penalty or deal with the provider to have them waive that penalty. So that's my concern with 15. And 16, my question is, payments from the Information and Communications Technology Fund, provided that those payments are lawful and made for the purposes and guidelines of the fund, unless that's something that's spelled out with a lot of specificity, I don't want to pre-approve items that have a lot of discretion, and then later there's a disagreement whether or not they were authorized by that fund. Number 19, just because of the time of the year, I'm not too worried about road salt. So I don't think that, I mean, if we were in winter months, 19 might be appropriate. And then I also have concern with number 22, this catch-all, when it says may be identified in other sections. You know, if you get into a question of discretion and you've authorized a May payment, I don't want to give that kind of broad discretion.
Well, I'm not in favor of this unless we know there's not gonna be any more public meetings. Schedule public meetings. I mean, we've got to schedule public meetings, as long as we keep that schedule, I don't see any reason for this ordinance.
Even if we do phone conference, we could still approve it.
Approved plans,
Sure.
yes,
Yeah,
we
as long
can.
as,
So,
as long as the government allows you to do that, you'll be fine.
well, I think right now they are.
Oh, yes, they do,
Yes.
yes, no question.
I think this is just something Greg came up with and proposed some other communities, I think.
And it was meant to be as broad as possible.
Right.
I would just say, with regard to Bill's comment on 22, you have an ordinance about things that are allowed to be paid in advance of the meetings because they're regularly scheduled payments. And so that's what the reference is to in terms of, in another place in the code. But
Okay.
again, folks, just putting this out there for discussion and consideration, and whatever you want to do is up to you. It's just that if the government does come down and say you can't do anything, then you're gonna have insurance premiums, utility bills, et cetera, that wouldn't necessarily be able to be paid otherwise, but that's your choice.
Here's my comment going along with what Clint has said. So far, every substantial declaration that has been announced several days in advance. It'll take into effect, go into effect 3 days from now. With our open door requirements, it still gives us time to have an emergency meeting if there were such a thing.
Yep.
So,
Live on the wild side?
sure, I'm available by phone for emergencies, so. Clint, you want to make a motion regarding this ordinance?
No.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we don't approve it.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, next item, emergency executive powers, 30 days.
Okay, so this is a resolution, it would be 032620A, because we've already had one resolution for today. This is a resolution to extend the declaration of a local emergency. Whereas the undersigned is the duly, whereas the town council, let me back up. Sorry, I'm doing this because I sent it to everyone. I had it last week and I forgot to bring it with me, but it's important that we need to extend this. So whereas the town council president of the town of New Palestine, Indiana, is heretofore entered or executed a declaration of local emergency. Semicolon N, whereas Indiana Code 10-14-3-29A permits the principal executive officer of a political subdivision the ability to declare a local emergency. However, said emergency is only in existence for a period of 7 days. Semicolon and, whereas the town council has a duty to ensure the safe and efficient operation of the government of the town of New Palestine, Indiana. It is therefore declared that a state of local emergency exists in the town of New Palestine, Indiana. As a result of this local emergency, public access to all buildings owned and operated by the town of New Palestine, including but not limited to Town Hall, located at 42 East Main Street in Palestine, Indiana, shall be restricted to elected officials, appointed officials, and town employees, as well as other personnel deemed essential. Sorry. Citizens requiring the services of utility billing department may make payments by utilizing the drop box in the entryway to the town hall or online. Citizens having questions, requesting initiation of a new service or needing service upon an existing account may contact the utility billing department at 317-861-4727. All appointed managers, administrators, commissioners, and department heads are hereby authorized to take all lawful action necessary to effectuate the terms and intent of this declaration to reduce the risk of further spread of the coronavirus, which would result in a reduction of the efficiency of government and utility services within the town of New Palestine, Indiana. In compliance with the Statement of General Guidance of the Public Access Council of the State of Indiana, all public meetings may be conducted electronically. All reasonable efforts, given the resources of the town of New Palestine, Indiana, will be made to live stream the council meetings with further information regarding such access to be posted on the website for the town of New Palestine as it becomes available. Furthermore, every effort will be made, given the resources of the town of New Palestine, to allow remote public comments and questions during the meeting at the appropriate and/or designated time. The public is strongly urged to view said proceedings online from their home, especially for high-risk or symptomatic individuals. Please feel free to contact any member of the council with any questions regarding town business or concerns. The Hancock County Emergency Management Office by and through the Hancock County Commissioners has issued a travel advisory for Hancock County indicating that only essential travel such as to and from work or in an emergency situation is recommended, and the town of New Palestine, Indiana hereby declares their intention to abide by and to enforce said travel advisory throughout the incorporated limits of New Palestine, Indiana. The town of New Palestine, Indiana will continue to offer town services. Public safety services are deemed essential services, and as such, those departments will continue to operate with adjustments as appropriate to ensure essential service continuity. All other town of New Palestine departments will remain open, although closed to public access, and they shall remain available for essential business either by phone, telephone, electric mail, or by appointment made in advance. Those departments may be contacted at 317-861-4727. This resolution shall be effective upon its due passage.
Is there any discussion?
Wasn't this passed a week ago or just 1 week?
It's
period?
only
Yeah, she
effective
declared
for
it,
7 days.
she can do it unilaterally, and she did that last week, and it was
Right.
effective then the 19th, so that's the need for today's meeting to extend that.
I only had the power to do it for 7 days the first time.
Mhm.
And then the next discussion has to be by the entire council to declare it for a longer period of time.
Okay, but is this gonna be worth anything? I mean, will this be enforced?
Well,
I think you're already enforcing it as to the number of people and the access to the utility, to the other departments within town hall, and that could run out, and then you're back to square one.
They're not open to the public, correct?
You have to close it to the public, you have to declare the public emergency.
and it was closed for 7 days. And I understand your concern, and I understand something happened. And I'm referring to an email that I also sent on March 16th to 19 employees of the town of Palestine, including all council members, elected officials, and all employees. And it spelled out clearly what the emergency meant. It also clearly stated that only employees are allowed to enter the premises. It includes no customers, vendors, family, friends, or children within the properties for any reason. Community rooms closed to the public. The only exceptions to this closing to the public are town council meetings, which was per state law. So it's clear what it means to me.
I thought it was pretty clear myself.
And it needs to be enforced, and it needs to be everyone held accountable for enforcing it that are in our town properties, period.
And there's no distinction between regular working hours or after hours.
It's just until the emergency is raised, would be
Right.
my assumption is just,
And that's what it says.
yeah.
Yes, and the only exception is to be public meetings by law, and now the state of Indiana has even passed a provision that public meetings can be done via telecommunication.
Yes.
I even encouraged in this message, again, working in healthcare, that employees here maintain a distance of 6 feet at all times. trying to set the example by our public meetings as such. I am not here every day, and that's the thing. I'm council president. I ask for these things. If we sign these things, we're asking our employees to hold accountability for that. And that's all I can do. There's also the list, as I wrote it out there on the board, and the questions to ask yourself before you come into the building every day. And that included anyone who came in here tonight to question themselves on the symptoms and exposure to a confirmed case. And so expecting people to make those decisions and accountability as well for the safety of everyone involved. So that emergency measure, I believe, should be,
It should be followed, but it was not followed.
right. So,
And Angie, we're kind of trying to dance around it. In what way was this not followed?
Because we had somebody that was public in town hall, that was allowed into town hall. After it was
On two separate occasions?
two separate occasions where it was stated that nobody from the public was going to be entering town hall. And we had an employee allow public access into town hall even after they were told no access,
Not an employee.
not an employee.
No, it wasn't
It
an
was an
employee.
employee that allowed them in.
No, not an employee.
Okay, an elected official, however you want to word it. All I know is that they were allowed in. However, it wants to be worded of who let them in. The executive order wasn't followed. So I would like to know, since we're sitting here passing another executive order, how is it enforced?
I don't feel like this order says that I can bring my children in here or anyone else. I'm an elected official, but I don't feel like it tells me that I have an exception and I can bring anyone else in the building, if that's part of the question.
Well, and you're asking about enforcement.
Yes.
There was a no trespassing notice delivered as a result of those situations, which means, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, if that same person were to come back a third time in violation of this order, they would be arrested.
Can I correct that just slightly?
Sure.
Given the current status and position of the county commissioners in the county jail, that person would probably receive a summons to appear rather than be arrested. Because given the situation at the jail, they're taking select individuals, I guess you would say, for incarceration. So other than that, this question or his statement was correct. And as far as enforcement goes, it would be your police department that would be doing the enforcement. So,
Thank you, Greg.
yep, no problem.
Okay, so I think that's about as best we can do. Angie, any other questions?
It's not gonna be followed. I don't know why I'm wasting another 5 minutes of my life on this, but whatever we need to do,
Hopefully it will be followed.
hopefully.
Is there any other discussion on the topic? Okay, if not, I'd like to have an emotion to approve resolution 032620A.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. And Greg, you'll send us that?
I will.
Okay.
I will do that in the morning first thing.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Greg, would you advise me to send the exact same email over again to everyone, just changing the date that it's been extended for 30 days?
I mean, you could just send them a note. You can do whatever you wish. You can
Okay.
just send the whole thing and say,
Okay.
this has been extended, or you can simply say, my
Yeah,
conditions pursuant to my email of
Okay.
March, whatever, have now been extended indefinitely.
and if you would, if you send the electronic copy, I think I'll probably just send that on as far as the official resolution.
Sure.
And just refer to that, because I know it was a long email to read.
Right.
I was just trying to be thorough in sharing with our employees and how they could get help. And if they had any questions, could contact hotlines and things like that. I'm just trying to encourage employees. So I'll share that once we get it.
So I can send that to everyone in the morning, but in terms of execution, do you want And I would send a copy to Tony, but you want to come in here and sign it? Yeah, you can, you want to circulate it in some respect? I know you all live in town, but I don't know how much contact you have with each other.
I think it's fine to, I'm fine with coming in and signing it.
Okay.
Is each person okay coming in and signing it?
Okay, so I'll send it.
We okay with that?
Yeah, eventually maybe we can get to this electronic signature
Yeah,
sometime soon.
you're okay coming in and signing it? Okay, all right,
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you.
thank you. As far as items on the agenda, that is it.
What's the fund report or the appropriation?
You know, I couldn't get that off of the template that you sent me.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I didn't know what that was.
That's kind of at the bottom of the second page at all times, kind of a just in case
Catch-all.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Technically, we're done.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
We're not gonna work. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motioned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I promise I'll do a better job on the next agenda.
Be safe tonight, Angie.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving on the front line.